Stalker 2 is a game I've been looking forward to for years now. The development team over at GSC need to be so proud of themselves of the game they've put out, from literally leaving their own country because of a war going on, to developing in another country and coming against some big problems with people leaking game files and story details and much more. For a game that's 28 plus hours in story length, a world that is so alive when you go into it, with great atmosphere as well, and it's fun to play for the most part. It's a game you've got to play, you've got to try for yourselves, and you've got to give it time. But I thought the story was the star of the show here. It was very good, very deep, a lot of lore to dive into, a lot of collectibles to explain different parts of the story, albeit it was very long and there were a lot of moving parts. It was very good. At times I didn't know who I liked and who I didn't. There were some people that were turning good that seemed bad. There were some people that seemed bad that turned good. Your decision impacts your journey, and I love these types of games, and everyone's story will be different. But it's time for the Story Explained video. This video is here for those that don't really have 30 hours or so to sink into a game and want to listen to the story themselves as they would be playing it. Look, I will do a more to the point story video after this one goes live. I can't imagine people have an hour or so to sit around and listen to this all the time. But these are for those that want to, when you're cooking, sleeping, or just want to listen to an in-depth story summary. But let's aim for 500 likes on today's Stalker 2 video, guys. And if you want to be in for a chance to win a special edition of the game, make sure you stick around to the very end of the video to figure out exactly how you do that. You must be subscribed to the channel, of course, and why not ring that bell icon just next to the subscribe logo to be notified every time I go live. There'll be more Stalker 2 videos coming along the way, a lot more lore for the game, and of course, the story explained and ending explained coming very shortly as well, because there are 2 more DLCs coming for Stalker in the future, and a multiplayer DLC as well, so stick around for that. But without any more talking, everyone, let's dive straight into the story explained for Stalker 2, Heart of Chernobyl. Hope there are no bugs on the console.
Last question, Dr. Dallin. Are you sure the perimeter surrounding the zone is really enough? If a powerful emission were to occur,
Listen. The zone has remained stable for years. The zone has remained stable for years.
Stalker 2 begins with listening to an interview with someone we meet later on in the game named Dr. Darlin, asking him if he's sure that the perimeter around the zone is really enough to contain all of its threats. If something called an emission occurred, which is a freak-like storm that emits a large portion of radiation and basically kills anyone caught out in it, then what would they do? Darlin responds and states that the zone has remained stable for many years now, and as a member of the Scientific Institute for Research of the Chernobyl area, or known as CIRCA for short, he believes that the wonders brought to the world from within the zone far outweigh the risks. The zone reveals a whole new world. We can stick with the old world fearing change, but do we want to be known by our descendants as ones that feared change, or ones who dared to venture forward to a new and better humanity? The game begins with us, a man that goes by the name of Skiff. However, our real name is Yevhen Martynenko, 25 years old, born in a small town in Ukraine. Loved a good book but preferred a good fight. Served in the army, but upon returning, engaged in some risky part-time jobs. No real friends, no family, just lonely evenings in front of the TV. And one night he came home and found his place in ruins. And of course, found this artifact. Skiff came into possession of this artifact, one that we saw at the start of the game, and the one he was holding when being driven into the zone. If it was outside of the zone for too long, usually, it would have lost all of its anomalous energy. Well, that's what usually happens anyway, but this one seemed and was different. Herman, the one that drove us there, has a device that can be used to recharge the artifact, known as a scanner. In usual cases, the artifacts are taken from the zone, and if out of the zone for too long, it will start to crumble, diminish, fall apart, and lose its energetic properties. This one, however, is in perfect condition still. Herman didn't say anything, but you could tell that he was very concerned and interested. Herman doesn't think that this stone is real because of that. He spent a lot of money on this scanner, so if it's fake, it's going to cause a huge explosion and, well, his money has gone down the drain. Skiff is doing this because this stone destroyed his home. He's trying to sell whatever this is to fund a new place. So he needs to take this scanner to someone named Neoda. They're situated at a scientific bunker inside the zone, and we need their advice on how to proceed. Skiff jumps over a broken section of the wall, an area broken by something during the emission that occurred as they were driving in. We explore something called the Lesser Zone, and make our way to the scientific bunker for Dr. Neoda. However, when inside, we find something chilling. Everyone inside completely dead. Everyone inside dead. Even the doctor. On the doctor's PDA, however, it made note of someone inside the bunker during the time, which they thought was this contact. They thought it was Skiff, but it wasn't. We found the doctor's laptop and obtained a series of coordinates telling us where to take this scanner. But because there was an emission that had taken place as we were driving in, those coordinates had changed. There was a voice on the radio that spoke to us. We told them that we were the contact and we were here, and he essentially tried to charge us more money for the new coordinates. But in the end, he does tell us what to do with the coordinates, and we stick the scanner in the ground, and we back off and watch. Skiff takes the scanner to the location and does exactly this. Now, the artifact is charged. We step back and watch, but however, just as we're about to go and collect it, we see a patrol of troops walk over and inspect it. We hide in a nearby house, and just as we're about to shoot, a gunshot from a sniper from a tower takes out one of the guards. Skiff throws a smoke and grabs the scanner whilst running away, laying down covering fire. A man known as Solder sold them out, the one on the radio, and he told someone of their location and their plan. And as Skiff was running away, he was punched to the ground by someone that was hidden behind a tree, and the scanner was taken, and Skiff was knocked out.
Finish him, and let's make tracks.
Interesting.
What the?
Whoa, whoa, whoa! Some fireworks, huh?
Who are you?
Skiff wakes a short time later, and there was a man named Richter. He throws us a bolt to toss into the anomalies around us so we could get through them safely, and we finally speak to him. Richter advised to head over to a place called Zalicia to find out more around Solder, and why he betrayed us and sold us out. We walked over to speak with someone named Gaffer, but then in came a group of people. These were a group of mercenaries, known as the Ward, and a few of their soldiers were killed. Someone named Squint looted their bodies and took one of their handguns. They wanted to know who, and so he spoke to the Gaffer, the head of Zalicia. We speak to the bartender, Warlock, when all of that commotion had ended, and he tells us more about the Ward. They're an army that patrolled the area and so-called safeguard it. Warlock tells us that Zortov might know more around Solder, because the Ward can find anything out about a person if they need to. We speak to Zoltov and, well, they want Squint in return for our help. We return to Zoltov with the PDA information he required. Here, Zoltov listened to it, and all the data pointed directly to us. We played it off and basically said that the device that we had was taken by some stranger, Solder. They attacked Zoltov's men, and that's why we're trying to find him, to get our artifact and scanner back. Solder's an IPF technician and works at a place called the Sphere, so it's time we paid him a visit. We made our way there and found out where he was staying, and as soon as we walked into the room, we had a gun pointed directly at our face. We got into a bit of a fist fight with Solder and finally picked up the gun, asking where our scanner was. Someone named Nesta ran the scanner business north of Zalicia. Solder didn't betray Herman, so if Solder didn't, well, who did? We returned to Zoltov and he mentioned that it might be best to speak with Colonel Korshinov, the commander of the Ward. The Ward are here because the zone has been doing more bad than good for a long time now, turning into an amusement park for scumbags. So the Ward are here to safeguard that and put a stop to it essentially. The zone is a valuable resource. Korshinov thinks that we all have a purpose, and he's right. Nesta, however, is missing and we can't meet him just yet. The last person that spoke to him was a murderer and a thief. He and his gang are nearby, so we pick up a PDA from him and basically see what happened to Nesta, and it's here we find another name, Diode. He knows about Nesta and the scanner. In return for honesty, we want more information on Nesta. So we went to Diode's workshop, and here we found Nesta had sold out Diode and gave a spare keycard to a bunch of bandits. We need to go and take a look, but first, we need to check out Nesta's stash at the top of the crane. Up here, we found Richter jamming to a bit of music. We converse with Richter a little bit here and talk about the zone. Richter asks if we've ever ventured into the zone before, and, well, Skiff hasn't. Richter says we can find anything we want in here. A friend, an enemy, money, death, or even miracles. Even finding yourself along the way. The zone centre, the power plant, unfortunately it isn't operational right now, so we can't go in it, although he says. But what you can do is make your way to Pripyat, and Richter has a coin that will allow us to go onto the Ferris wheel, and the first ride's on him. Anyway, as we search Nesta's stash, it points us towards a place called the Labyrinth. There we need to find any clues about the scanner that we possibly can, and even enter the dig site further. We're led to a man named Varan. It seems as though his men attacked him and took the scanner. His men got attacked when fueling a spent artifact, exactly what happened to us. We do a favour for Varan and he agrees to set up a meeting with one of the men that they captured which could help us. They were downstairs and he gave us a key. So off we went, but of course, no one was there, and it was one big setup. However, who did we find in that room? It was Nesta, dead. We walk out, and of course it was a setup, and we killed the Marines, and also looted Varan and took all of his belongings, and met back up with Diode. But when we got there, we didn't meet with Diode, and the facility was surrounded by the Ward. Colonel Korshinov was there with Dr. Dmitrio Darlin, the person being interviewed at the beginning of the game. Darlin is a scientist for Circa who studies these artifacts and has been in the projects for many years now. We explained the situation to them. We are here looking for the scanner and the artifact, but Darlin was confused about there being another scanner. We hand over the monolith PDA found on Varan, and that shows us where the Monolithians, other factions, are holding this artifact and scanner. We explain that the anomaly burnt down Skiff's home, and Darlin doesn't quite believe that the artifact did exactly this. Usually they burn out and crumble by then when they're outside of the zone, but of course this one didn't. We speak to Richter outside, and he mentioned to stop by the sawmill. It's about time we saw other parts of the zone. So we enter, and inside we meet someone named Scar. Richter told them all about us, so they were expecting us and already knew of our situation in parts. Here we tell them our story, why we're here. Here we hear about something called Project X, and that this zone wasn't always here. The Ward are not here to protect the zone, Scar said. They're here to prevent people from entering completely, to carry out tests on the future of mankind. But then a guard shouts, "Zombie!" This is the dark side of the zone, but there is another, the shining side, an eternal spring, a place like no other. They want the shining zone to reveal itself, and this is what these factions are looking for. The next set of people that we meet are ones that are critical to the next part of the story. The first is Simon Dubney and Faust. We're here to talk to a man called Strider, hoping for more information. He gives us the location of Strider, so we will make our way to him. Here we find a scanner, active. We help Strider turn it off, and from that point onwards talk more to him. We again tell Strider what we're doing here, what we're searching for, and we show Strider the PDA that we'd found. Some of his men were involved in this mess. This place is a Noontide base. They are not monolith as such, although they were a part of it in the past, and the monoliths you'll hear more about later. But they welcome everyone. Stalkers, monoliths, ex-Ward even if they do decide to join. Strider tells us to speak with someone named Professor Lodcheka to trace the coordinates of a monolith PDA. To do this, we're going to need an inductor, so we grab that and make our way back. However, when we find ourselves back in this place, something wasn't right. The man Faust we'd met earlier was giving a speech. He was talking to the rest of the people in the base, preaching about the zone and what they should all try to see and believe in. Strider said to Faust to stop brainwashing his men. Faust said it never used to be like this. They were different, part of something much greater. It seems like Faust is involved in this mess. He is a part of the bigger picture, but we don't know that just yet. When we traced the Monolithian PDA, we found that one of the men situated in the Ward camp named Icarus is attempting to sabotage the base and working with Faust. We go here and ask the captain for more information and also try to obtain a Ward keycard. We move into the main building and speak with the commanding officer, and here we met Dr. Krivyenko and Captain Senkovich. Senkovich was shocked to hear the news we'd had to tell him and sent all of his soldiers for a walk whilst we take down all of the antennas in the area to prevent any communication outside. After doing this we return, and well, when doing this, we searched into a place called the Planetarium where we found a strange device being active. It was more rads than an anomaly, and it made Skiff feel really strange until he destroyed it. This was done by a man named Shaterev, a traitor of the camp. Sienkiewicz will help us track him down and will do some questioning of his own, as will we. We finally find Shaterev, and he wasn't himself. He was almost talking to himself, like he was having a conversation with someone else. But he was completely blocked off by psi radiation. We had to kill him before he shot us. But we opened his computer, and when we did, Faust immediately radios us, telling us to come to him. He's blind though, how can he be involved in this? Anyway, we meet up with Richter again, this time on a boat. Richter used to be a guide, taking people to places they wanted to in the zone for a fee, but he's past those days now. We need a man named Nimble. He can take us to a place that we need to go, a place called Clear Sky. And what do you know, Nimble is the exact guy that stole the scanner and punched us in the face. We ask him how to get to Clear Sky and he gives us a map and some coordinates to that exact place, an area in the zone that we need to go to. There's a base there that we have coordinates for, and when we arrive, we wasn't alone.
My loneliness, found with a stone around his neck, thrown off a cliff. Operation Monolith. Hanged. Torn apart by dogs. Killed. Missing. Pripyat. Killed. Dead. Wild Island. Missing. Alive. No information. Shot by loners. Died in an anomaly. Found with a stone around his neck. Thrown off a cliff. Torn apart by dogs. Operation Monolith. Hanged. Alive but lost. Wait just a second, Skiff. And the scanner is yours. I need to say my goodbyes. Farewell to our great past. Enemies, yes, but united by faith in one idea. For your kind, it was the wish granter. For us, the monolith. It spoke in many tongues, but everyone heard only what they wanted to hear. Repentance. Forgiveness. Not a chance. After a decade of silence, only hatred remains. The monolith has abandoned us to make us understand. Being alive does not mean to be happy. Nothing else matters.
We see Faust sat in a chair with a scanner right next to him and a green face in the top right. Faust is giving a speech, but to who? Faust, however, suddenly ends his speech and sends the scanner crashing to the ground, and it teleports him. The room, however, looked different after this. Nothing like what we just walked into. What just happened? Faust mentioned something called the Wish Granter. This is something the Monolithians preach and speak about. Faust is definitely in on whatever's going on right now, so we return to the base and find Strider and Scar stood in a room. Strider and us don't really trust Scar. He seems to be hiding something from us, but nothing is telling us why he wants the scanner, so we're just going to have to play along for now. But now we have the scanner, it's time to enter the Circa facility and deliver it to Darlin. This place, however, looked nothing like what we've seen before. So shiny, so new, so not rusty and run down. We give Darlin the scanner and he gives us his room key to sleep and clean ourselves up. We do this and make our way down to speak to him again. It turns out the artifact within the scanner is called the Alpha artifact. It possesses properties like no other artifact. It can't be replicated. Artifacts can be grown, but not one of this magnitude. But during our chat, the announcer mentions that they've encountered something called Aegis. This is an uncontrollable anomalous exposure. This means all labs are shut down, and they cannot continue their tests until it's taken care of. However, Skiff, of course, offers to help. This spatial anomaly preventing the testing is something that will give Skiff's head a bit of a wobble, because the first face we see when we explore this abandoned facility within this anomaly is Professor Herman, the guy who drove us here in the first place and basically ran off when we got into trouble. Skiff is not happy with Herman, but he does have a chat with him. The scanner was not stolen from the ward, Herman says. It was created by Herman. This whole thing, the spatial anomaly down here, was created by Herman as a way to halt the experiments. He knew the ward wouldn't enter it, and that we would. The problem is we're inside a version of a lab named X11, where he wanted to be outside the Institute to have this conversation. We finally speak to Herman properly, and he tells us more around this whole situation. There was an experiment called the Second Caribbean Experiment, and this caused many artifacts to pop outside of the zone. Just like what happened to Skiff, and one that destroyed his home. This experiment that required the Alpha, but they didn't have it, and without being able to replicate it, Darlin decided to do something drastic. He tried to repeat the first Caribbean experiment, but without this artifact. It was their first contact with something called the Noosphere, even before the zone came into being. That's when the first Alpha artifact appeared. This caused all of our progress they'd made to come crashing down. The cause of Skiff's home being destroyed was because of Darlin, and Herman was aware of this from the start too. Herman has reconfigured the bubble, and it takes us back to Circa where we can have a little conversation with Darlin about this. And that's exactly what Skiff does, but with his fists. Darlin doesn't believe that this artifact was the reason for Skiff's apartment being destroyed at first, but he mentioned that he had no choice. He could try to replicate the first Caribbean experiment or wait for another super emission that could have wiped them all out. And him doing it led to the Alpha artifact showing itself. During the second experiment, the facility was ambushed by Scar's men and, well, it caused it all to go wrong, apparently. Behind the glass in this room, however, is something called the Wish Granter, which we've heard that term used before, the real monolith. It's a psi installation created by scientists from Project X. Instead of rusting away inside the sarcophagus, it's now here at the Institute ready for use. Darlin needs someone to help test this though, so Skiff volunteers to enter the Wish Granter, because it's his artifacts and he wants to do the testing. Skiff enters and the monolith starts to talk to Skiff. But Skiff isn't speaking, it's someone named Strurlock. This is really interesting because we're no longer in the perspective of Skiff. We seem to be in the perspective of this other person. I want the zone to disappear, he said. When suddenly Skiff was in that place that Scar mentioned earlier, the bright side. Skiff is then back in the room. When he enters the vision again, it's Strurlock speaking. I want immortality. Skiff then says, I want this all to end. And here we overhear Darlin and Korshunov speaking, telling everyone to kill the Stalker, us. We exit out of this Wish Granter and wake up, seeing Darlin and Korshunov surrounding an injured soldier. It didn't seem like an illusion, it seemed very real to us. Everything about that just happened was an illusion to us, but the surroundings were real, resulting in Zoltov being shot in the crossfire. The monolith showed us someone else's memory. Someone named Strurlock, as we'd said. Someone we've not yet met. The plan is to use the anomalous energy, with the use of this artifact granting wishes for all mankind, providing a way to reach out the outer limits of the solar system and have an unlimited source of energy. Darlin will connect to the generators around Circa, and from that point onwards there will be no need for the zone. Someone, however, is waiting for us in the projection room, so we make our way over. Inside is Herman, strapped to a chair, mouth taped up. This was done by someone named Agatha. Someone stole the scanners from Circa, and of course that was Herman. He was guided by his co-conspirator, Faust. Maybe Faust took control of him like we've seen in the past? Is that what Faust was doing in that chair? Herman then apparently insisted on murdering every last witness, including us. This man did almost kill us, so it's up to us to decide his fate. But Skiff let Herman go, and doesn't say a word. Agatha, however, gets closer, tells us all about ourselves. Agatha said Skiff can Agatha said that Skiff could move back to the mainland after he'd helped them, move into a brand new house. But money was promised to Skiff, and he wants that. Agatha knows that someone is trying to stop them getting what they deserve, she said. Skiff lies and says he doesn't know anything. Then a message from Strider plays. Agatha wants to find Strider, tell him to lay down his weapons and work for the Warden Circa. So we make our day down to Strider, and we have a chat with Simon Dubney. And well, we decide to team with him and Strider and push forward. Strider blows a hole in the wall of the facility, straight into the room where the test is taking place.
Out the fucking way!
Connection established.
Step back!
It's done.
You motherfucker!
The connection was established and, well, the monolith was here. But suddenly, Strider stands up, kicks Skiff in the face, and walks toward the artifact and carries it out of the room. He was affected at the start, but then he just got up, like he was being controlled by something or someone. Skiff crawled his way out of there and was knocked unconscious until a short time later. He found himself in the sewer of the facility, so when he needed to try and escape, it was very difficult to do so. Skiff finally escaped, and at the top, Richter. We followed him out, and as we opened the door, it's alive. The zone is alive. But then Richter got together and asked about Strider, and before we could answer, they were ambushed by the noontide.
Dud. It's like you can't get rid of the sky up above.
What?
They say the sun's always shining in Pripyat.
Oh shit.
And then, once they were done, the zone goes back to its grim and muggy setting. We receive a transmission from Professor Lodochka. He's saying that the island is a disaster. Something has happened, like a signal's been sent. Intense psi activity. Noontide, all of them have turned into monolithians again, because of Strider. We need to help the Professor. We need to get him out of where he is. And he's in a place called the Wild Islands, so we make our way. We find out where the Professor's being held, and take out the mercenaries that took him hostage. The Professor said that Strider showed up, put a team together, and then told the rest of them to guard the island. Then the signal happened, and they all just turned. Strider turned into a monolith, along with all of his men. The signal's coming from deep within the shelter, and we need to destroy the psi connection. We find and destroy the signal, and take whatever we found to Scar and his army, hoping Richter will be there. We find Scar and tell him all about the plan. He wants to take out the Ward forces, thin them out, and to do this he wants to do a series of tasks and missions for him. We of course comply and do this, and while bringing back the device that will help him do exactly that, kill and thin out the Ward forces and also the Monolith forces. But Scar also knew about Skiff's apartment. He knew about everything. Everyone seems to know about this, but no one ever seems to tell him. Scar was one of the first in the zone and used to be situated at a base in the chemical plant, until the Ward took it over and took it for themselves. But Scar wants it back. The plan is to stop the Ward from destroying the zone by striking back, and firstly hitting a place called Dugar. So we help out where we could, but it doesn't bring us any closer to where we want to be. However, along the way we did find out a bit more about Faust. Skiff started to see multiple versions of Faust throughout, almost like holograms throughout our missions with Scar. My footage has had some issues, which is a bit of a pain, which is why you won't be able to see it all from now, but you'll see it in the future. But we essentially need an emitter to attach to our armour to help us fight Faust for good, to not be impacted so much by the psi radiation. And to do that, we speak with someone named Dvuparlov. We also want to talk about something called the controller program, because this is also a massive thing for us. The thoughts of another person sitting in a chair and controlling someone, just like we've seen from Faust earlier on. We speak with Dvuparlov and finally ask him questions that we needed. He started by telling us something called Project Leash. The Mutant Control Project is what they used to be. They cooked up a bunch of strange looking animals and then tried to control them with a series of collars, then zap them remotely if things got out of hand. They were meant to kill all the mutants when the project went down the pan, not let them run around the zone. We ask, very drunk, how do we destroy phantoms and essentially kill Faust, who's creating double, triple of himself? Dvuparlov, however, tells us that if we're so eager on figuring this out, we need to get over to X5, a laboratory that would give us all of the answers. However, the keycard for the lab was given to someone named Sherba, so we need to find him. We find and ask him for the keycard, and we're looking for the Phantom Suppressor. And whilst down there, Sherba wants us to look for some papers related to the controller project that he'd written and basically return them to him. So we found the papers and returned them to Sherba. Dvuparlov was unaware, however, that Faust has tapped into the X network, brought the Monolith back online, and caused a bloodbath all over the zone. Faust is the project of Dvuparlov. He is the reason that this has all happened. The only way to create a true controller is to preserve the capacity to think, feel, and make decisions. Right now the choices don't align with what the Ward wants, but it does what it's set out to do on the tin. Dvuparlov, however, mentions something called MDST. This was a group of scientists from Project X who were eager to continue their work even after it was officially shut down. These were the ones that made the controller project a reality. There was no official funding or approval for this continuation of the project. However, C Consciousness wasn't content with merely creating the zone. They were determined to safeguard their pitiful existence. That's why they needed the monolith. But later, Faust and his abilities. But why did he create Faust? Well, the mutants became too unpredictable. They wanted to make them into mutant soldiers. The error with this project was thought to be an issue with the controllers. Without consciousness and human empathy, their psi abilities were pitiful. Faust, however, demonstrated this vividly, but it allowed them to fine-tune it better, and human testing showed much better results. What has Faust turned into? He now has the abilities of a control mutant, but Faust has also still got his humanity. But now the problem is, all the projects were shut down. There's nothing to protect them. No more Project X, no more C Consciousness, no more MDST, and he did this on his own free will. The Monolithians became an idea to him, and that's what he's done. We need the suppressor installed on our armour to fight back against Faust, but he won't. Because we're going to kill Faust, he won't do it. Faust is his creation, why would he? So we need to find a technician to do the work for us. We get it installed, and now it's time to hunt and kill Faust. We met with someone named Star. He tells us a way to get to Faust without being heavily shot at, and we need to go underground to do this and make our way there and shut down Dugar. So that's what we do. We shut down Dugar and make our way to Faust, and we finally find him and his mutant doubles and get the better of him. Faust pulls us through a bubble, and there he is. He's not blind, he's normal. Faust is dead, but not in this other world, not on the other side. Take a listen.
The fight is over. A mortal dies, yet the soul endures. Welcome to the subtle world. Take a seat, Skiff. We have a lot to talk about. What time of day would you choose for an intimate conversation?
I'm a night owl. What a fascinating show.
Much of the zone is not what it seems.
What the hell did you unleash upon us?
You know more than I do. Envoy of the monolith.
What?
You stood by his side, carrying out his will, and now you've come for me. I have angered him. And that is why you are here, seeking revenge and a reward.
I don't get it. I just want to reclaim what I've lost.
That makes two of us.
Is that so?
Some come to the zone to make money. Others come looking for miracles. Many just want to find happiness. You know? A way to feel real and alive again. But have you ever met anyone who was truly happy? And what do they look for if the miracles don't satisfy them? The monolith brought joy to a chosen few. But I've decided that all stalkers in the zone deserve better.
How generous of you.
I've been here before. Once. A long time ago. When I was a stalker. Looking for an adventure. I took just one awkward step. And my whole world plunged into darkness. But in the end, it was I who gained true sight, while the others kept stumbling around in the dark, searching for invisible wonders. The monolith showed me the zone for what it truly is.
Is this the real zone?
Define reality. The zone is what you consider it to be. I've shown you how I see it. Walk your own path, and you will come to see the zone in your own way. Such is the will of the monolith.
Faust seemed crazy at first, but when you speak to him about the monolith and the zone, it starts to open your eyes. We take what's on Faust's body and meet up with Scar in X-17. Faust had something around his neck, something that we would go on to use in this lab. It's a key to something pretty incredible. We placed this into a machine, and here a huge green head appeared, like what Faust was found next to earlier. This thing was called Representative. It asked us to ask any questions we might have, and it would then decide on what to do with us. So we ask away. We ask us what it knows and how it knows us. And well, it retells the story of us finding the anomaly. Then finally, who are we? This is C consciousness. Once 7 scientists and 7 personalities, and now they exist in one mind. This is the representative of C consciousness, a project that was ongoing in the past. Everyone in the zone thinks Strelok killed them all, but even after their physical demise, their existence existed in the noosphere. Does this mean the noosphere is an extension of life? Well, thanks to the zone, sentient beings can achieve eternal life in the form of subtle matter, pure consciousness, free from the constraints and limitations of a physical body. However, should anyone attempt to harness it, it will result in the annihilation of all subtle matter. What's their goal here? The structure of the noosphere was damaged by Circa. The Shining and Other Side will reinstate the right to immortality. From them, their consciousness will gain the ability to communicate directly with one another, meaning anyone in the Shining Zone can live forever, communicate with one another, and this will be the dawn of a new age. No pain, no regret, no suffering. Scar is asking questions, but soon after we're interrupted by the ward. We fight them off and speak with Scar, and here we need to locate the X-Network Center. The name Strelok has come up again. He reached the center of the zone. He did what everyone thought was impossible. We need to track down a doctor that worked with Strelok in the past. He's the only one that might know the location. He's often sighted in the Red Forest, so that's where we start our search. We didn't run into the doctor straight away, but we did find and speak with someone named Lichen. He asked about the doctor, and we tell him that we're looking for Strelok. No one knows where the doctor lives, but he does help mutants and people if they're injured. However, there is a location where he's been seen before, and this is the only lead we have. But it's true. Here we find a big bubble, and inside is Strider on the ground, and the doctor in front of us. The doctor was here, talking about Strider. He's obviously brought him here to patch him up, but the doctor's worried about him. He needs a regenerator to survive, and to do this, the doctor wants us to go to a nearby Monolithian hospital to get this. We take this back to the doctor and, well, try to help Strider. However, he's too far gone, and when we got down there, Strider was fighting back against the doctor and also begins to fight us. Strider has our neck in between his hands, and the doctor does only what he can, stabs him in the neck. After years of work, a group of scientists managed to tap into the noosphere, the Earth's informational field, an achievement comparable at best to the conquest of space. It was a turning point, not just for science, but for the fate of the human race. However, as with all people, Echo, his colleagues, were truly interested in one person, and that was their self. They began to dream of worldwide fame, laurels crowning their shiny heads. Naturally, the truth couldn't come out about the secret laboratories, the secret experiments, and other secrets. They all got carried away with the dream of a perfect world. And well, great minds think alike. Lo and behold, That's what we have a decade later. The Doctor was there, a part of C Consciousness. The Doctor was there. He was a part of the C Consciousness project. One of the pods were left empty. There were 8 altogether, and the 8th pod, or the first, was for the Doctor, Kaimarov. And, well, that was him. We tell the Doctor about the representative, saying it still exists in subtle matter. This means the project is still ongoing. Subtle matter is a theory developed by Valentin Darlin, the leader of C Consciousness. Back in the day, he ridiculed the calculations of Kaimarov for the existence of the noosphere. Subtle matter can preserve a reflection of the person's mind. If the representative is real, they succeeded. And before Skiff, the only one to speak of them was Strelok. That was back before 2012, before C Consciousness died. Strelok managed to reach the centre of the zone and return unscathed. Our next task is to obtain a cartridge from a lab named X3. This is so we can try to enter the noosphere. A man named Sidrovich will be able to help us. We reach Sidrovich and he gives us some direction on where to go next. We need to ask the local stalkers on information on the lab of X3. One of them told us about someone called Dark. We head to his camp for answers and we ask him directly. We have a decoder, one that can get through any door that requires a keycard. So we show him that we have it and he agrees to help us. Well, when we get into the room, however, Dark starts to act strange in front of these TV sets, almost like he's possessed by something, and someone comes out of nowhere, almost ambushing us. That person is Strelok. Again, I've had some issues with my footage, so I do apologise for the stuttering of it. Here we tell Strelok why we're here. We told him we're with Scar, and they really know what's going on with the zone. We told him about the Doctor, how he told us about X3. It seems as though the two of them have a history. He helped Strelok to get to the middle of the zone to take down C Consciousness. Now he's sending people into the zone to fix his mistakes. However, when we told them we'd spoke of them, Strelok wouldn't have it. He even kept some glass from their pods to remind him of that day. But we know what we saw. We, however, leave the facility and climb up a ladder to get out. And well, it was like another world. This was The Shining, a land so peaceful, perfect, with a cottage right in the centre. However, once we took out the cartridge from the pod, the truth revealed itself. The cartridge almost masked this place. It was completely different. Strelok was outside waiting. The zone can be used to brainwash us. The Shining Zone is a lie. It seemed better, so real. But Strelok spent years searching for the Shining Zone, And well, it was an illusion. It was a lie. Strelok needs to find a way into the Stalker program control center. But what is the Stalker program? This is the first we've heard of it. It lets you manipulate people's minds. So, who made it to the center of the zone got the short end of the stick. Their prize was either join the monolith and protect Project C consciousness, or become an agent and do their bidding. The programming only malfunctioned once, and that was with Strelok, but it cost him his own memory. Dr. Kaimarov told Skiff to take the cartridge to Obid's station. Maybe there, Skiff will find the truth. So we take the cartridge there, and walk into the lab called X-15. The cartridge we found, we enter it into a pod, and we walk over to the capsule, a replica of the ones from those 7 scientists. We step into the pod, and the glass door seals around us, and something starts to happen.
Skiff. What's going on? Where are we?
You're dead, Strider.
Then, I'm no more. But the experiment. Tell me we made it in time.
Yes, we did.
Really?
Strider then realizes he's dead after a conversation with us, and he asks about the experiment. We lie in this scenario and say that, well, we got there in time and we stopped it all, hoping to make him feel more at peace if this is the afterlife. But then he goes on to tell us something wild. His lucky charm was an empty rifle round. The monolith was talking to him during a mission whilst he was in the army in 2012, and made him shoot a soldier dead. Once the mission was done, the voice of the monolith disappeared, and all Strider saw was the body of an unknown soldier fall by the hands of him. Strider has been a part of this the whole time. He was being controlled by someone using this project of controlling people. Someone made him do these things. However, as we got out of this state, there on the other side of the glass was Scar. He was his usual animated self, but we basically told him everything we knew about The Shining, that it's more like a mind prison and it's not real. But Scar wasn't listening. He wants an eternal spring, no pain, no regrets, and no suffering. So we make a choice and go against Scar's plan. Life is worth living, not the eternal spring. Scar did not like this and pushed us straight back into the capsule, and the door sealed around us, and he and his men walked off. Skiff does his best to get out and smashes through the glass in an effort to escape. We snuck out of the lab unnoticed and made our way to a place called the Troposphere Facility, or the TCP. This was ward occupied, but they were onto us from the start. Our plan is to activate something called the Neuroprogrammer Control Panel. We need to activate this in order to find out where the Stalker program was being hosted, so that we can figure out more about what's going on. And well, what we find was chilling.
Screens. A whole wall of them. All static. And a creepy chair.
Right. Have a seat.
I think I'd rather stand.
Don't worry, it won't bite.
I hate dentists.
Are you set?
Yep.
Push the button.
Can you see me?
Yeah. Looking good.
Barely dark ones of 20/20 vision.
What?
That's his eyes you're looking through. Like the man, dark one.
Hello, Skiff. It's Dark One. Remember how I tried to kill Strelok? I changed my mind.
Holy shit. How was this possible?
Wow. Sea consciousness used to have very advanced technology. Now we need to figure out what the war wants to do with it. Anyway, it's time to wrap this up. It won't be long before they snake you out.
I've got an idea. Talk to you later.
So this controlling project gives you the ability to sit in a chair and use this technology to control your host. This is exactly what Faust was doing earlier on in the story. But who could have he been controlling? Could it have been Herman? However, just as we're about to leave, we ran into some company. Colonel Korshunov. It turns out the real reason the Ward are in the zone is to keep the aftermath of the Project X a secret from Stalkers and from us. And there, the Colonel tells us that the Dark One, Scar and Sherlock are all here as a result of sea consciousness. They're apparently bred like cockroaches. The Colonel, to be fair, is talking sense in this scenario, but wants everyone to remain in the real world here. Not think about some dream fantasy land like the rest of them are. There's something about a big corporation like the Ward and the secrets that they were keeping from us I just don't like. So we did try to escape, but of course we ended up in prison. But who was there to welcome Skiff when he woke up? Dr. Darlin. All of our stuff was confiscated and we were imprisoned. Here we ask Dr. Darlin about his dad Valentine, and we told Darlin everything we found out. His dad was the head of Sea Consciousness, Dr. Komarov is still alive and didn't go in the 8th pod, and the subtle matter theory. Darlin basically gives us the cell key and tells us to get out, so we got our stuff and escaped the prison. Pripyat is the place we need to go, so we find our way in, and off we go. Pripyat was exactly what we expected. Quiet, run down, abandoned. It was absolutely fantastic. We however meet someone there named Colonel Degtyarev. I'm probably butchering these names, but forgive me. He is situated in the centre of Pripyat and battles against the Ward for the occupation of Pripyat. We team with him to destroy something called the Foundation, and must get it before the Ward do. We break into the comms room and take out 2 soldiers, and we can see on the monitors Darlin and Korshunov speaking. They want to get the machines running, to get Darlin's plans underway again. However, Darlin opens the door and allows us in, and here we have to take on Korshunov. But Darlin activates this thing, and there stands the representative, Darlin's father. Sea Consciousness believed that there was an informational field surrounding the Earth. This was the noosphere, and it links all sentient inhabitants on the planet and stores their mental images. Darlin tries to speak to his father, but this was just a hologram, not him. Darlin lost it and pulled the device out of the machine and threw it at this spinning machine. It exploded in front of him, sending us all flying. We wake up to Sherlock and Richter. Since we took down the Foundation, the monoliths are losing interest in the zone. But something is happening. The emissions are getting worse. However, the Stalker program is not over. Sherlock, however, said that we still have a main issue, and it's alongside the Stalker program, and that's Kaimanov. We tell Sherlock that we will make our mind up once we speak to Komarov, if we kill him or do we let him go. So that's exactly what we do. We make our way there to Komarov's house with Richter, and we speak to him. But he's aged significantly. We decide not to shoot the doctor, however he decides to stay outside during the emission. We sprint inside and head into the basement of the house, into the secret room behind the cloth that the doctor told us to go into. Here we find a cartridge, just like the one that we'd got from Strider earlier, and a diary from the doctor. Komarov left us a cartridge, and that's what he wanted us to see. It's the key to his memories, so we need to see what the doctor wanted us to see, so we did exactly that. The cartridge was a memory from that day, a flashback. The day Sea Consciousness began. We, however, control what's going on, and shoot the power cell in the middle, damaging the device that connected to the noosphere.
One day, you'll finish badly, Strelok. Hold on, son. I'll take care of you. You're going to make it. Where will you go now?
To the north.
We also meet Strelok and see how they first met, with him bringing back the heart of Chernobyl. Showing Kaimarov take care of Strelok, and they're eventually leaving towards the end, heading to the north, he said. Strelok still has the heart of Chernobyl, and we need to find it, and we need to take it. Richter takes us to a place to find Strelok, and, well, we basically thank him for everything that he's done for us. Throughout this whole journey, the two back and forth a bit, but Richter tells Skiff that he must be the one to enter the pod, enter the noosphere. Skiff flips the coin that Richter gave him at the start to go on the Ferris wheel, and he basically enters the pod. Heads, he enters the pod, and tails, it stays empty. Skiff will be entering the pod because it hit heads. The zone didn't mean to hurt anyone. It was a cry for help from the zone. We, however, make our way to the top of the plant, and there is Strelok. We battle against him and take the heart of Chernobyl and push on through, eventually coming across another chilling sight, which was the heart of the Stalker program.
Jesus. Scar.
Poor Scar. I knew him, Skiff. A fellow of infinite jest, of most excellent fancy. And now, how abhorred in my imagination it is. My gorge rises at it. Oh. Where be your jibes now? Your gambles? Your verses? Prithee, Skiff, tell me one thing. Do you think the representative looked of this fashion in the earth?
I guess.
And smelt so, ha? What a miserable end, Skiff. The representative dies. The representative is buried. The representative turns to dust. The dust to soil, the soil to clay. And who's to say that clay won't end up a stopper for a rusty rain barrel? Just to think, once he determined the destinies of all these stalkers. So this is why, in our own dreams, sometimes we see their memories. Yes, but the representative is alive. Yeah. Only the enemy claims there is no life after death. Ah. If that is the case, then there is no shining zone. And if there is no shining zone, then all these lives were wasted in vain, Skip. No, we know it's not true. Oh. I'll I've lost my head through this cause, along with all Indians.
There, however, was Scar, sitting down, being his usual animated self. He's not happy with our decision to destroy the Foundation, and not in agreement with our views on the other side, the better version of the world. Scar was also, however, getting second thoughts about the Shining Zone, thinking that it's potentially a lie, going back and forth with himself. He's going mad, and well, we're led to kill him. This, however, was the final death of the game, until we finally reach Lab X7, the place C Consciousness was born, and the place Skiff will rest.
Show me what you found.
I am blind, but it is you who cannot see for what it truly is. One of the pods was left.
You're not worthy.
Get inside! The greatest temptation is trying to control something we do not fully understand. But what do we do when faced with the truly inexplicable? Some tear it up to make souvenirs. Others keep it chained up inside a perimeter cage. Perhaps all the zone really needs is our compassion.
Control center, what's going on over there? We've got anomalous activity at all our facilities. Duga, respond!
Perhaps the time has come to let her choose her own destiny.
We're receiving numerous reports of unidentified anomalous entities. Not approach or make contact with anomalous objects.
There is nothing you can keep secret that will not come into the open. It's just a matter of time. I used to serve the monolith blindly, until she opened my eyes. To keep life's adventure going, one must embrace freedom. Such is the gift of the zone.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was the story of Stalker 2, The Heart of Chernobyl. What a long game. 28 hours it took me to finish this story, but I just went straight through to the story. There's like at least 40 or 50 hours worth of gameplay and story and lore here to go through, and it was a lot of fun for the most part. Some frustrating areas of the game, but again, some patches and updates will make this game absolutely fantastic, and I think it is actually up there for probably Game of the Year in terms of at least a nomination for it, I have to say. Especially with everything that's went on with this developer, I think it's definitely worth a nomination because the story was fantastic. I want you to comment Skiff down below if you've made it this far into the video. You'll be entered into a giveaway for the special edition of the copy of the game. Also comment down below what platform you want to receive it on, and we'll get in touch if you're the winner. But I did like the story, it was very interesting. However, sometimes the story can be too long to stay invested, and I felt like this one was a little bit too long. There was too much running around, right? The story was fantastic, but there was too much running around to prolong the story. Really? It was probably an 11-hour story that's been progressed another 15 hours just for the, just to keep the game longer. But leave a like if you did enjoy, everyone. Let's try to reach 500 likes in today's video. It'd be absolutely fantastic if we could hit that. And why not subscribe if you guys are brand new around here as well. There's plenty more Stalker 2 content coming, as there's a lot more lore we still haven't covered on this game just yet, along with a shorter story explained coming, and of course an ending explained as well. But thanks all for watching, I really appreciate it. Leave a like if you have enjoyed, subscribe if you guys are brand new, ring that bell if you want to be notified when I go live, and leave your comments down below. And without further ado, we'll see you guys next time.